take us through the extraordinary proximity of the vice president and his family to the approaching mob.
Absolutely. So the two key figures to remember here are 60 seconds and less than 100 feet. That is how close the violent mob of protesters, some of whom were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," came to witnessing the vice president and really being in incredibly close proximity to him as he was spirited away from the Senate chamber and into his ceremonial office just off that chamber. At the beginning of your hour, Andrea, you played that video of Officer Goodman being incredibly heroic, and we now know luring the mob away from the Senate chamber and helping to keep those members safe. But there's that moment in that viral video at the top of the stairs where he pauses for a second and kind of looks over his shoulder to his left. And right there, just seconds earlier, less than a minute earlier, is where the vice president and his detail and his family members, his wife Karen, his daughter Charlotte Pence Bond, his brother Greg Pence, who is a House lawmaker, had just been raced away to safety. And that's sort of the key of our reporting. And it goes on to detail how the vice president was in the Senate chair presiding for 14 minutes after the initial breach, which for security reasons, as everyone sort of does a postmortem on what went wrong, is far too long. And then how the vice president was ultimately, and his family and entourage was ultimately evacuated to a second, safer location in the Capitol complex that we are not revealing the specifics of course, for security reasons.
And Ashley, we should be clear, he has a Secret Service detail. He also has an assault team around him at all times. So we're not saying what would have happened. It just would have been extraordinarily difficult, to say the least.
That's exactly right. And we don't know, again, we sort of don't get into the whole evacuation route or how long it took, but he did, we spoke to people, they did not see any of the rioters as they went through that path to his second, more secure location. And of all of these members, the vice president was sort of the top VIP in the Capitol that day. As you point out, he has a security detail. He has an assault team with him. But at the very least, if the protesters had seen him, this is the key person the president had encouraged them to be furious at. Again, at the very, very least, we don't even want to think about worst case scenarios, but this situation would have escalated.
And just one other piece of your reporting is that the Secret Service had repeatedly wanted to move him more quickly to a third location, and he resisted at first because he wanted to stay there and carry out his duties and not be